You're welcome to Good Morning Anambra show today, Wednesday, the 19th day of February 2025. My name is Nonya Nwokoye, thanking you so much for always waking up with us on this platform. And today, a lot of issues bothering Nigerians, but of the most issue we are bringing to table this morning is the issue of tanker laden with petrol that falls indiscriminately on our roads. This morning we are going to look at it and see what could be done to ameliorate this plight and the dangers inherent from all this. In the studio with me is my co-anchor this morning. Ajulo, you look so good this morning.
I think it's the Lord's doing, and it's always a pleasure to be here. And then, thank God, I'm wearing my seat belt as I sit here, even though you guys might not actually see it. But when you're sitting next to the commander there, you definitely have to do the needful.
All right.
And that's why I'm well seated here. I hope, Commander, my sitting position is in line with Federal Road Safety. Thank you.
All right, it's our pleasure this morning to host the Sector Commander, Anambra State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, and the person of CC Joyce Nenaya Alexander. It's good to have you in the studio, ma.
It's good to be in the studio. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, now we are talking about dangers of fuel tanker crashes in Nigeria. When we talk about crashes, what's your assessment of the crashes we experience in this country? How would you assess most of the crashes?
I think that the crashes are preventable. I'm very happy that you've joined us to be calling them crashes and not accidents. Accidents are things you cannot help, you cannot control. That's why the United Nations actually, in short, as you kept saying crashes, I said, wow, she's actually one of us. Yes, accidents, according to the United Nations, is something that is uncontrollable, that you cannot prevent. No matter what you do, it happens. That's an accident. But United Nations feel, and they came up with this conclusion that the incidences of road traffic bashings and incidences are not really accidents. They are crashes. They are preventable. So when you ask me what's my general assessment of crashes, I say it's preventable. It's preventable. The motorist can prevent it. The pedestrian can prevent it. The stakeholder can prevent it. The construction company, the policymaker, we can all go a long way in preventing it. Now, am I saying that preventing it will be 100%? No. We are human beings. Mistakes will always happen. But I think that the larger responsibility lies with every human being to prevent crashes. Yes.
Over the years, we've had successive governments in different parts of the country trying to suggest ways whereby they can reduce some of these crashes that has to do with tanker, diesel, and the rest of it all. Even gas, cooking gas. And I remember vividly some state governments in the southwest now decided that if you're carrying flammable product like your fuel, kerosene, and the rest of it all, you travel at night so as to reduce crashes on the way and then reduce casualties in the event of flame and fire and the rest of it all. How well can the road safety help to make sure certain safety on these roads are maintained based on what some state governments tried in order to reduce accidents and crashes in their states and on their roads?
Based on what some state governments, I'm also happy on that your phrase, some state governments. We need executive and legislative laws to back up these things. During the time of crash helmets, one or two state governments, including Cross River State, were very, very definite, firm on the use of crash helmets. That made it a big success in that state. Others were not. Exactly what you're saying now. There are state governments who have said if you are carrying an articulated vehicle, if you're carrying a vehicle laden with diesel or whatever,
well,
you don't pass through this place until so and so time. Those state governments are doing well. Now, Federal Road Safety Corps cannot come and place such a rule. We cannot. It will need a legislative backup. It will need a law for it to be in effect. All we can do is to work with relevant governments, relevant organizations, recommend what needs to be done, and then there are laws, yes, that are encapsulated in our Establishment Act, in the NRTR, in all the traffic regulations. We can enforce on those laws. But some laws would have to be for the states to come down hard and say, this is what we want. Now, if you're talking about these vehicles coming out, these vehicles, having all these incidences of crashes, the federal government, the Federal Road Safety Corps is not just looking at the federal government or the state governments to do what needs to be done. We are right out there. We have our officers in tank farms.
Okay.
Yes, we have our officers in tank farms. Incidentally, Anambra doesn't have a tank farm. Yes, we have places where we have tank farms where vehicles that are going to be filled with diesel and whatever cannot leave if you have not been ascertained to have your safety totally, in order. That includes how you lock your container to the head of your vehicle, the man trap, everything included there. Now, we also look at the condition of the vehicle. But before you ask me, some of the vehicles fail brake. Yes, they do. We look at the conditions. But it's like a fight between the FRSC people who are in those places and the operations staff of those places. Sometimes they still manage to evade our scrutiny. They still manage to evade our scrutiny.
So even apart from evading your scrutiny, what other measures does FRSC take in making sure that some of these tankers are properly well constructed? Because we have cases where some they've not even crashed. You see the vehicle leaking product.
Yes.
So is it the job of the FRSC to maybe go to this construction site where these tankers are being constructed to make sure that there are certain safety standards that are met?
We do that. We are doing that. But like I said, you do things. This needs a lot of education. It needs a lot of sensitization. It needs a lot of change the psyche of the people. People have been used to doing it in this other way. So it's like one step at a time, one step at a time. Are we making progress? Yes. Are we making the kind of progress we would want to make? No.
No.
Okay. Sometimes it gets frustrating, but you know that something is being done. We work with the people that construct
the
tankers. We have what we call safe to load. The safe to load policy. We work with them. We work with the people that field it, and we work with their unions. We do all these things. But like I said, sometimes these things, they have a way of...
The human element will definitely come to play.
All right, let's look at the reality on ground. Between January and date, we've had several, deadly crashes, involving tankers. One happened in Niger State that killed a lot of people. the other one at Ugonyam at Enugu State. Then recently, but in last 2 weeks at Onitsha, in front of Army Barracks.
I thought you were going to leave out that one.
I
thought you were going to leave out that one.
No, no, these are some of the cases that
don't leave out the Newi.
And okay, Newi own was cement, fully loaded. Yes. That was cement. Yes. Now. In 2022, Road Safety said it is about 1,500 tanker accidents, and these 3 just happened between. These are the ones we know that happened between January and now, and the casualties were there. And one begins to ask, what actually is going on? What do you think are the causes of these tanker crashes?
It's an issue of people, operators, owners of these vehicles not really taking out time to make sure that their vehicles are in good order. It's an issue of training. Okay, so let me take it like that. It's an issue of maintenance of vehicles. It's an issue of training of drivers. And where the incidents now happens, it's an issue of, I don't like using this word, but I need to use it. It's an issue of the poverty level. One of the pictures or the videos that was shown in one of the national television stations showed the man practically neck deep in a pool of fuel, trying to pick fuel. Yes, of fuel. And where I was seated in my house watching it, I found myself cringing. Because all I kept thinking was, what if fire? I showed the man the fuel was somewhere here. And he was busy trying to. And I said, anything can happen there. You know? So the poverty mentality one is there. But before it happens is the issue of maintenance of those vehicles. The owners knowing that this vehicle needs to be not only well maintained, but also well fixed. I always tell people, if you're carrying me, and even if I'm driving, I don't want to stay close to those places. Any small thing. And like you said, the dripping, which is something has to do with construction and the quality of those tanks. These are things the Federal Road Safety Corps is pushing to get it done correctly. But like I said, it's a step. Yes, yes. And then sensitization. Some of these drivers, when they carry this fuel, the way they drive. And we've come to find out that quite a number of these people who are driving these vehicles, it's not as if, it's like motorboy learned from driver. Exactly. He didn't even go to driving school. He didn't have any kind of specialized experience, training for this thing that he's driving. He just watched his master match brake and engage gear and do whatever. And one day the master tells him to just turn that vehicle.
Just pack it.
Thank you. And that's how it builds up. Some of them, you find out that if you go in and check, they don't even have driver's license. Not to talk of the specialized driver's license for that particular...
To drive trucks like that.
Exactly. Because they didn't go through any drivers.
No. Now, stating all of this that you've stated, don't you think that the state of Nigerian roads, bearing the point of loading down to the point of discharge, could equally be responsible for all these crashes and upturned vehicles?
You know, when I started, I said that it's preventable, and that's why it's called crashes. And I said it's preventable if everybody, organizations, governments, put in hands. So our road also contributes to it. But, you know, in Federal Road Safety Corps and in traffic management, we always say that the human has the higher factor when it comes to blame on traffic crashes. Why is that? The road is bad. You are a human being. You should know how to navigate and negotiate. The road is bad.
Okay. Now, can we look at the issue of cordoning off an area when accidents of this nature happens, because and in developed countries, I've experienced a vehicle trying to use a road and used another road. I was asking what happened. They said an accident has happened there, so they no longer use that particular road. They just cordon it off. But here in our country, there is a case I will never forget. It happened at Omonia Junction back in the years. It's more than 10 years now. But that day, you know, a truck fell. So they didn't cordon off the entire road. They just tried to use one side and be passing. So, you know, motorists, how they do. One had to go and remove a stick very close to the tanker, and they had to use it, and they were in convoy. So they now passed, other vehicles followed them. So the vehicle now, I think, touched the tanker and fire, it caught fire. So a lot of people were killed that year. It was a terrible. So what happens to, you know, when accident of this nature happens, why can't we cordon off that particular road? Let people begin to use other roads. What is happening?
I know that it's happening all over, but I know that since I came to Anambra State, the few, like somewhere in Immigration Junction, there was a crash there that if you had left it, it would have been insured. That vehicle, it was loaded, so we couldn't even tow. Yes, I know that my people, including me, we were there up till late in the night, cordoning it to make sure that there's no other crash. Okay. Now, the thing about cordoning, you know, once it happens, the crowd is overwhelming. And I ask, how many law enforcement agents do you have there? This cordoning you're talking about is just that tape. In Nigeria, it doesn't restrict us. Abroad, once they see that tape, they know it's a no-go area. Nobody passes that tape. In Nigeria, you put that tape. We were somewhere in Newi. Yes, the crash that happened in Newi. I had to go there. And this, I think, task something. They put that cordoning tape there. And I was laughing. I said, that tipper will just carry plus your cordoning plus you and just pass. The tipper they wanted to restrict from entry. And I was laughing. I said, that tipper will just carry that thing plus the cordon tape and whatever and go. We do not have that education to know that once you see this tape, that's a no-go area. And like I asked, how many law enforcement agents do we have that will pull back the crowd?
But I think that's an area people will have to begin your education. If not,
which
you know,
we are doing.
I know. You know,
as I got to that Newi, using that Newi, because that's the most recent distance on Saturday. As I got to that Newi, I told the police people on ground there, I said, send everybody out. And before we left, there was no cordoning tape immediately there. It was stick
that they used.
Yes. And do that, and the crowd it was a teeming crowd. This thing happened on Friday. Friday night, I was with my people on phone all through the night, and first thing in the morning, I was on my way to Newi. When I got there, the crowd was still surging. The crowd was still surging. I had to call the police. Oh, let's do this. Remove this crowd from here. And they removed them. And it was a stick they had to use as an immediate measure to do that. So it's an enlightenment, it's a sensitization that
I think you have to come and buy time on radio, because radio is closer to the people, and this needs to be training and retraining, the signs and all whatnot that you people place in different places that people don't even understand what it means. You know.
We do that.
Okay.
We do that. The issue is this. Public enlightenment is something that FRSC is deep into. And this public enlightenment goes even to grassroots. We've made it in such a way that even where we do not have commands, we have people we call station officers, even where we don't have an established structure, and we call commands, we have them going deep there into the markets to talk to even market women. If I open my phone and show you reports on my phone from all over Anambra State, to talk to even market women, not to display their wares on the road. As you're talking to that market woman, she's listening to you and she's bringing out the wares on the road. she's listening to you and she's bringing out the words of the road. You are talking to the union members not to do whatever. As they are listening to you, they are still thinking of the next one they are bringing out. The public enlightenment is ongoing. That I can beat my chest concerning road safety. But there is a lot to be done in change of psyche. Our people are stuck most times in this thing. You talk to 10 people, but I'm not expressing defeat. You talk to 10 people, and maybe out of the 10, 3 or 4 would hear you. The other 6 still pose a risk. That's it.
All right, now when we talk about these crashes, I don't know, is there any, you've talked about, making laws and all whatnot. Can we borrow any, because I know that about 5 years ago, I went to Abuja. So between 7 a.m., once it's 7 a.m., tankers do not use that road. So I was going into town from one closer place to
I
Abuja.
wish you could mention the name of the places in Abuja so that...
I don't know.
Because I know Abuja well, so that I'll be able to...
I don't live in Abuja, so I saw trailers and I was asking questions. Why are these trailers parked? They said that once it's 7,
they won't
wherever you are, you stop until it is time for you to move. So can that be replicated? I don't know whether they are still doing it.
It's a law. If it's happening in any state, like I said, it's a law enacted by that state.
Okay, each state has the right to enact their
Exactly.
own. Can't we do it nationally? Because this tanker crash, there was a time it was much in Lagos. Repeatedly. It was.
Even Lagos at the time did it. I don't know if they are still doing it now. Even Lagos at the time did it. There was a time that I needed to bring in some things from somewhere to Lagos. And when they got to, I think, Ogun State, they parked.
Okay.
They couldn't come in. I was getting jittery. And they told me they can't pass because the time for them to enter has passed, yes. If every state enacts that law, then of course you will find out that operators are going to obey it, because whichever state that enacts that law is going to make sure that the law is obeyed. FRSC, we always call on states. It's a collaborative effort. Yes, just like we call on states for all their state traffic management agencies, we recommend that, we encourage that. There are laws that you should enact peculiar to your state. With the peculiarity of your state, you should be able to enact those laws. And then we work with you. If we say at so and so time.
So you're saying that what is obtainable in Jigawa might not be obtainable in Bayelsa?
When it comes to this, our laws, our fines, our offenses, everything, NRTR is a federal distinct, but where the NRTR, that's the National Road Traffic Regulation, yes, there are some places where it doesn't capture. Does it capture that if you're carrying a tank, a tanker laden with diesel, you should not enter this place at so and so time? No, NRTR does not capture that. Do you understand? So there are certain places like this, except because of what is happening, FRSC now starts pushing it in the legislation that these are things we want. If not, there are certain states who can come out and say, based on what is happening in our state now, we are saying that this is what should be. And immediately it takes effect.
Okay, in case you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Anambra show, and we are talking about these tankers that fall incessantly in our nation, the dangers of fuel tanker crashes in Nigeria, and of course what could be done to see that it's brought to the barest minimum. And we are in the studio here with the FRSC Sector Commander of Anambra State. At this point, we'd like to take a very short break. We'll return after now. Do join us again.
Ignorance, actually. I have had some people always attribute that to poverty. But I don't think I should subscribe to that opinion or that view, because even most of the people who are scooping those fuels, many of them don't have engines in their homes. They don't have motorcycle. They don't have car. They don't have generator. Yes, they are scooping fuel. Who are they selling it to? Some of them may be doing it just for the sake of money they may get from that. But I can't totally attribute it to poverty. So that's not part of hustle. So what I'm saying is, it's part of ignorance is major cause of it. Because many of them, as they do that, they don't know the implication of what they are doing. So even they are aware of what the implication will be, or could what the thing could result to. I don't think any sensible individual will be endangering his life just to make money or to gain anything. No matter how poverty strikes you, you can never deliberately do anything that is very, very dangerous, that you know could risk you or could even cause death to you immediately. There should be urgent action, always being taken anytime such thing happens. And it is an advice that I will call it, that anybody who witnesses or sees such thing happen should urgently call the fire service, and every tanker driver should have the contact of the fire service. Every tanker driver, in fact most tanker drivers, they don't go alone, so both them and their passenger, their colleague or their conductor, whatever name the person is given, both of them should have the contact or the phone number of fire service, so that anytime any such thing happens, especially when the people survive it, I mean the tanker driver and his colleague, when they survive it, any of them should quickly put out call to the fire service. It shouldn't be just Anambra State alone. This is a national issue actually. So any fire tanker driver should endeavor to have the contacts of fire service in almost every state.
I feel people know the dangers already. So I feel people that are always going there to scoop fuel are maybe the ones that are ignorant or probably greedy. If you're greedy, that's the only time you can go there and scoop fuel. When you know the dangers already, you've seen the dangers already. You don't understand. So when something like that happens, you just have to stay away from it. Stay away from that place, like very, very far from that place. Because this is not the first time it's happened, it's not the second time, it's not the third time. It's either you've seen or you've heard about the dangers. So I think this is not about the government, it's about individuals. You know what's good and what's bad. You know the dangers, you know how inflammable fuel is. So when you see something like that, you just stay away from it. The fuel cannot make you a millionaire.
Fuel, maybe motor dalada, fuel, one and telling our banana. Then they scoop with the fuel, they scoop with the fuel. Because they're on more rope. Or they don't we had the danger, because that fuel might catch fire or might be everybody. Even with the driver himself, who only the time. Often at this kind of thing, accident come out there. Often at this kind of thing, opposite with fire service number, phone number, so that this kind of thing happen. He will call the fire service people so that they will come. But he has name at the Roma, half was see upon the mud, half a fuel that na tanker fuel that the question we got Balos or Ghana, you could the thing, Otago or the Roma, or the dangerous to health and the life of a person. The government creates any group who can pick this kind of people up. If they see this group of people half na motor than a highway, how we gonna scoop the fuel like this? Government will see create platform, create maybe enforce on the Ghana Abiana and pick all these kind of people up, because it's dangerous to their life and to their health.
Thank you, because the other way, madam, maybe take a risk. Before you go, madam, you could see in a pity, maybe. That I could be a so now that spirit of Korea and Wadoniana. Oh, we were free. You were free. We were by now. So now, government and Abbassos, it's the Korean mother. I pay as a Yuri, because I will mad me. I can't so. ịfọ n'ụzọ nwoke taka trela pa ihe dịka mmanya maroleda ndị maji na-eburu kreti ma na-eburu iwe ori ka ọ bụ so gọọmenti kwesịrị iwepụta iwu tie iwu na onye jiri na dat act ekpe asonye ori because anaghị agbasakwa ya bụ ozi na detin ọ dị risk maka ndụ maka ọ bụrụ ọkwa na ikwuchitara ego nwere ike iji ka ihe kpata ego anwa itufuo ndụ iwu na onwere ụlọ ọbara ya ga-anọzọ ndụ.
Telling us about the dangers of fuel, that is when the crashes do happen on our roads, and we've talked about the reasons why it's happening, and then now let's talk about what we can do in order to prevent or bring it to the barest minimum. And let me get down to our sector commander, Joyce Alexander. When I was much younger, say when I was in primary school and the rest of that, even though we didn't have as much filling stations as we have right now, but hardly do I see fuel tankers on the road. Most times they do carry these things via the rail. What happened to that means of transportation in order to take that weight off our roads and reduce these crashes? Is then FRSC doing anything with the federal government in order to make sure that these things stay off our roads so that they can go via the rail to reduce crashes on our roads?
Our rail system then was very reliable. It was certain. It was working. It traversed the few places where it needed to go at that time.
Most of even the depot had a rail linked to them.
It traversed the few places where it needed to go. We don't have it like that now. We have rails that are. It's just how many years ago that we started revamping
the
rail transportation.
And it hasn't even cut across the length of breadth.
Exactly. These are things that even you as a Nigerian, you know that the federal government is trying to do to get not even just fuel, but even other goods through rail, even down to agriculture through rail. But these are things that will take time. It's not something that you rush into now. And the Federal Road Safety Corps will be one organization that will really give a big sigh of relief when this thing comes into play, where you know that you're not bothering about diesel on the road, spilling, and all the rest of them. Federal Road Safety Corps will be one organization that will give one.
Now,
but for now, it's not there.
Since that's a long-term project, what about having your staff, your members at depot, where most of these tankers need to be subjected to some medical tests and evaluation?
We are doing that. We are in tank farms all over the nation. All over the nation, we are in tank farms.
Commander, please, I've heard that there are tankers, there are foreign tankers brought in like that, and there are tankers constructed here. Yes. And I learned that those tankers, foreign tankers, when they fall, their contents do not spill. That's what I heard. I don't know how true it is because
I don't know how true it is.
you know, but I've heard it, you know, from some sources that are close to those people using driving the tankers. Now, is there a possibility that we can borrow a leaf from those people that we are learning from? Let me in quote, you know, those developed countries where their tankers will fall and the contents are not, because not just that we had crashes, but the main issue now is that after the crashes, people rush to the scene to scoop fuel, and in the process, we have fire explosions that kill so many people, even more than people suffered the crash. Now, is there any possibility of us borrowing a leaf from developed countries to get or to try to get tankers that when they fall, the contents do not spill? You know,
it's a matter of manufacturing. Some shoes that are done in Nigeria are not up to the quality of some shoes that are done abroad. And some shoes that are done in Nigeria can measure up very well with shoes that are done abroad. It's a matter of quality. It's a matter of putting an eye to details in what you're doing. So, yes, if what you're saying, that when they fall, I say I'm not aware of it, that when they fall, they don't spill and all the rest of them. Yes, there is need for us to learn from them. Like I said, we are working with Nupeng and all the rest of them, Pengasin and all the rest of them. We're working with them. At every point in time, you are making deliberations, you are trying to see how we can make the situation better. But, flowing from there, you are working with the people up, you are doing trainings, you are doing all this one. There are also private individuals who refuse to be fused into this. Maybe one thing or the other will happen and you'll be able to identify these private individuals and then you pick them. There are private individuals who are having just one trailer, one tanker, that, like I said, they just put this person of push your leg in here and press the gear here. But when something happens and you're able to identify them and you're able to bring them, pull them in, not even bring, forcefully, pull them in, then you can also include them in the education.
You know, I wish that what is going on with Operation Udogachi in Anambra should be replicated in every quarter, you know, where our people will be forced to do certain things, since we don't want to do the right thing that can help us. Now, what dangers do we stand to see if nothing is actually done to really bring down to the barest minimum the rate of the crashes we experience?
The dangers we expect to see is the dangers you're seeing now. Fire outbreaks. We go there. Sorry?
As a loss of lives.
Yes, loss of lives. Loss of property. You go there and they're chasing you away. Maybe we'll send a video to you after. It's even been on air for some time. What should you do when such a thing happens? The 25-liter jerry can of fuel you're going to school, how much is it to risk your life for it? That's the question. How much is it for you to risk your life for it? Fuel is dangerous. You just scoop. Somebody can do anything there. And we've seen it happening. We've seen it happening. And people are burnt with beyond recognition. So what we are afraid will happen is what is already happening in the ones that have, the incidences we have had.
Are there fines, penalties for non-compliance of fleet owners, you know, filling station owners, operators?
Yes.
When their vehicle crashes on the road?
Yes,
on the road?
there are.
There are?
Yes, and there's even prosecution. We do what we call crash investigation. Once this kind of thing happens, we do crash investigation. Based on that crash investigation, we most likely go to court.
Will the filling station be sealed if they are found guilty or anything so that it will deter them, and there are safety measures that...
It may not go to sealing, but there are prosecutions, and depending on what the court awards, it may not go to sealing the filling station. But do we do something? Yes. Do we prosecute? Yes. We do.
Yeah. Now, I know this is not entirely your jurisdiction. The siting of some filling stations within densely commercial areas or even market areas doesn't seem appropriate.
It's not appropriate.
But then, what can be done in order to...
It's the local government, the state government, and...
Even the DPR too, that give
that
licenses.
Should, exactly. No, but even if the DPR gives the license and the relevant agencies in the state or local government fight it, it can be revoked. If you say that this place is our market, you don't put a filling station beside it. And the problem we're having most times is, I'm sorry, it's, how do I put it? Self-centeredness? Okay. The problem we're having most times...
You won't call it ignorance, because we
no,
all
it's
know...
No, it's not, it's not ignorance. The problem we're having most times is...
not adhering to laws of the land and the rest of it.
It's corruption.
Because
if you have the interest of the public at heart, and you see that this thing is about to be cited here, and it's going to negatively affect the public, your citizenry, you should be able to put your foot down and say this thing should not be cited here. You don't do any wishy-washy this thing. If we all do, as relevant government organizations, if we all do what we should do, irrespective of whose ox is God, irrespective of what personal interest is accrued to us, but we are looking out at the general good, things will be better.
All right, now a lot has happened with the crashes we experienced in Nigeria, and most times there are casualties. I don't know, what do we do going forward? As road safety, your responsibility is to make sure that people obey traffic rules and regulations. And from all what we are saying here, it seems that people are in a you know, and when you're saying one thing, they are doing another thing. You know, what do you think could be done to get people to be obedient, to lay down rules and procedures of doing things in this part of the world?
Stricter laws and enforcement from the government. Security agencies, sometimes I like to indict myself as well, to sit up and enforce more. For the public to know, and for the operators of these vehicles, owners of these vehicles. And of course, our enforcement also is on the owners, also. And then for the owners to know that at the end of the day, safety is extremely crucial. And to have this in mind in whatever policy, whatever vehicle they are buying, whatever activity they are carrying out, whatever personnel they are employing. And of course, for the public to know, if this thing eventually happens, please run away. Please run away. There are some of them that happened, and where they go to fall, yes, they will destroy properties and whatever. You can't, by the time the fire service is coming, by the time the fire is off, it would have destroyed. That's a different thing. But for individuals, for human beings to deliberately, intentionally stay there when it happens, that's amazing. So I think all in all, we need stricter laws, one, and then we need sensitization, grassroots sensitization by all concerned, every agency, every government at every level. We need grassroots sensitization.
Are there presently what FRSC is doing to apprehend culprits of those that are not really obeying the rules? You know, looking at what is happening presently, are there anything that you're doing now to see that culprits are apprehended and prosecuted? Yes,
like I said, it's in our, it's within the ambit of our activities and responsibilities, our ambit of our mandate. We go, once we do a crash investigation, find out exactly what caused it. It's like a plane crash where you have the black box. Good. So once you find out this is what happened, you prosecute. And once you prosecute, of course, you now leave it to the court to say this is the outcome of this, of course, because it's not as if you're the one that is now passing the judgment. You prosecute, you take the case to court, and then the court will be able to say, this is it, this is it.
Well, thank you so much. The Sector Commander, Anambra Command of the Road Safety, Joyce Nnenaya Alexandra. Thank you so much for availing us the opportunity to be here to give us sensitization and lecture on how to prevent most of these things, and then to enlighten and educate us on when crashes of this magnitude do happen. And I believe you watching us at home, you definitely know the implication that your life has no duplicate. There's no amount of jerry can fetching fuel in crashes area that will make you a millionaire. Your life is very, very important. So whenever you see things like this, call the fire service or run away far. Try as much as you can to even, inform people to stay clear, rather than you wanting to go make some money on stuff like that. Well, that's how we'll be wrapping it up this morning on Good Morning Anambra, this segment, because up next is Catch the Bus. Well,
right, I would like to thank you so much. From all what we've said here this morning, you can see that it is dangerous. Crashes on our roads, they are dangerous. And the one word we are living with here this morning is run for your life when something like this happens. Would like to thank you so much for being here, Sector Commander. Thank you. And I know that whenever we call on you, you will answer us.
Thank you very much.
All right, until some other time, it's a bye for now.